Hi, and welcome to the first video about area of triangles. For this video, we're going to develop a formula together for the area of a triangle, and we're going to use that formula to find the area of a triangle. Before we get started, let's remind ourselves how to multiply fractions. Remember that both numbers have to be in fraction form, and they have to be to where there's only one number on top and one number on bottom, so you cannot have mixed numbers. So we're multiplying 45, I place that over 1, times 5 over 9. Remember that when you are multiplying fractions, you can do something called cross simplify. And if you need some more explanation about that, let me know and I can give you a little lesson on cross simplifying, but basically that means that the numbers that are diagonal from one another can be simplified by a common factor if possible. So I know that 45 goes in, or 9 goes into 45 because 9 times 5 is 45. So I can divide this by 9 and I can divide this by 9. Again, they do have to be diagonal from one another. So this turns to a 1, this turns to a 5. Now I have 5 over 1 times 5 over 1. That's 25 over 1. 5 times 5, 1 times 1, and that just simplifies to 25. So let's remind ourselves first about area. Remember that area of any figure is defined as the number of unit squares that can fit inside the figure. So for this example, this is from the last video, we know that the length of this is 6, the width is 4. This question says, how could we make this a triangle? And there's a couple ways, okay? We could just split it, and here's our triangle down here. You could also view the triangle in the other part of the rectangle. You could also split it the other way diagonally, okay? And then you could also come from the top here and go to each corner, and that would also be a diagonal cut, making a triangle. So but basically what we're doing is we're taking this rectangle and we're cutting it in half, right? We're slicing it corner to corner, so we have actually 2 triangles now. So the formula, very easy to remember to find a triangle, okay, is to take the same formula that we used for a rectangle. Instead of saying length and width, we're going to call it base and height, okay? The base and height of the figure, but we're going to be dividing it in 2 so that we can have our triangle. Okay, so we're finding just a triangle's area, not the entire rectangle. So that you could view the triangle down here, you could view it up above. Either way, cutting this rectangle in half does create a triangle. Okay. So in order to solve this one, we would say the area equals the base, 7, times the height, 4, and you divide that by 2. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 divided by 2 is 14. So 14 centimeters squared would be the area of this triangle here. Go ahead and see if you can try this one on your own, and then we will talk about it. So for this one, we are going to be doing the base times the height divided by 2. That is 4.5 times 7 1/3 divided by 2, and I'm going to multiply first. So 4.5 and 7 1/3 need to be made into improper fractions. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 is 22. Okay, and I can cross simplify. 9 and 3 are both divisible by 3, so that becomes 3, that becomes 1. 2 and 22 are both divisible by 2, so that becomes 1, and that becomes 11. So I end up with 3 times 11 on top, 1 times 1 on the bottom, that's just 33. And I have to, can't forget, this is what students forget the most about triangles, is I have to divide by 2 at the end. 2 goes into 33 16 times, that's 32. So there's 1 out of 2 left over. My final answer is 16.5 inches squared. Okay. Okay, so for this one, it might be a little bit confusing, but what I want you to remember, and it's down here in this purple box, the base and height are perpendicular to each other. That means that the base and height must always form a right angle. So this right here, 12 and 16, are the two sides that create that right angle. So we don't need 20, they're trying to trick us, and we don't need 28.8, they're trying to trick us there as well. Okay, so base times height divided by 2. The base is 12, the height is 16, and we will divide that by 2. 12 times 16 is 192, and then I have to divide that by 2 at the end. Notice I'm showing my work. And that is exactly 96 because it zeroes out. So my answer is 96 centimeters squared because they have the units of centimeters. Here's practice problem 3. Again, I challenge you to first think about what is the base, what is the height, and then go ahead and give it a try. Okay, so for this one, the base is 16 and the height is going to be 7 because, again, that is what makes that 90-degree right angle, which is what perpendicular means. So our formula, base times height divided by 2, because again it's a triangle. Base is 16, height is 7. And again, most of the time I have been multiplying first, but you can divide if you have two numbers that you can divide in your brain easily. I know that 16 divided by 2 is 8, so I'm done with that, and now I can multiply that by 7, and that I know is 56. So my final answer is 56 centimeters squared. You can still do it the other way. You could do 16 times 7 first, then divide by 2. It's just easier to do in your brain this way. On the last problem, I could have done this first. Okay, so that's 8. So I would have ended up with 12 times 8, which we know is 96. So sometimes it's easier to do multiplication first. Before you leave, make sure you understand how we developed the formula for area of a triangle, and make sure you know how to use the formula to find the area. Thanks for watching.